Gentlemen, if you would take a look at the minutes, if, after review, there's a motion.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are adopted. Item number 1, new business authorization to disperse from District 1 Improvements Fund. Councilman Wilson.
Yes, sir. I'm requesting to support the Johnny Shines Blues Foundation. You know, I love music. I'm a avid music lover. Our community loves all different genres of music, and this is just a great time.
Caroline got to you.
Yeah, she got to me, man. She got to me. And I wanted to support that event, and hopefully our community will support that event as well. So I'm asking for
World
support
famous
that.
Johnny Shine.
Yes, famous
I
Johnny
saw Johnny Shines playing the chucker.
I think I may have too. I think I may have.
Only time I was ever in there.
Yeah,
Really?
right. Yeah.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Johnny Shines is approved. Item number 2. Ms. Standridge, Gray Matter Consulting contract, $215,000.
Yes, good afternoon, council.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is the annual extension of the contract for Gray Matter Consulting. They are our grants consultant service provider. This is the consultant that has gained us the awards such as the $15 million for Build Grant, $17 million for the Raise Grant, and so on and so forth. To date, Gray Matter Consulting's ROI for what we have paid them is approximately 11,534% from their.
They don't get credit for the raise grant. We gave it back.
Well, just because that was our outcome doesn't mean they didn't get it awarded to us immediately.
True.
And the work that they did allowed us to be able to have that opportunity anyway. They are not increasing their fees. The $215,000 is the same exact we were paying them last year. And we do have grants on the horizon that we would like to at least be competitive for, and they are our best opportunity to do so.
Okay, gentlemen, are there any questions?
Carly, do we direct them or are they bringing opportunities to us all the time?
It goes both ways. We will tell them what our priorities are. If we see anything of interest to us, we definitely send it to them. And it works vice versa. And when we tell them what our priorities are, they're out there searching and they'll bring us possibilities to say, this one looks interesting. What do you think about it? So it can go both ways. However, we definitely do direct them on, like, that one doesn't look like we want to play in that pool, or hey, that one does look interesting. Can you get us a little bit more information on it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item is approved. Let's see, general fund budget revision number 19.
Oh, I'm still up there. Sorry. This general fund budget revision is actually for Ms. Howard's backpack giveaway that she was mentioning earlier in pre-council. If you will recall, all of the council's district improvement funds, it's awarded $10,000 every fiscal year, and some years it's not fully spent. And when that remainder is not fully spent, we will archive it and accumulate it, and then council members can propose to use that accumulation from prior years. With the backpack giveaway, Ms. Howard has gone over her $10,000 allotted for fiscal year 2023, and so we are proposing to move some of her accumulation from prior years into the current year.
Any questions?
Simulation too. I got to figure out how much I got.
Me too.
I can
Yeah,
do that
worthy
really
zero. You spend too much money. I spent all of it. Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item is approved. Thank you, Ms. Standridge. I think next, Tuscaloosa. Visit Tuscaloosa, the artist formerly known as Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Ms. Rush, making your agency funding presentation. Welcome.
This is gonna be tough, I can tell. They gonna get all over you.
We have a hard audience today, don't
Thank
we?
you.
We should have played some music for you as you walked out. I didn't think about that.
I should have requested my walk-up.
We still have Green Acres. Oh, that's not, thank you.
So So just so you guys know what you're getting right now is I wanted to provide a copy of our presentation, so that's in the bag. We have hot off the press as of this morning, our updated visitor guide for the next year. And we also have some new lapel pins that have that are TCL, so we just wanted to give you guys that as we go into the presentation. But thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here this afternoon and to share an update on all the wonderful things that are happening at Visit Tuscaloosa. Visit Tuscaloosa continues to operate as Tuscaloosa's destination organization, an organization that you invest in. While our efforts certainly enhance the quality of life for our residents, inspires and drives visitation, and fuels the engine for economic development, we also do what very few agencies can do for you, and that is that we help generate revenue. You know, every opportunity we have to bring more visitors to Tuscaloosa means more dollars are being spent in our community. You'll see here shortly that in 2022, visitor spend across our county was up 20% last year. That means more revenue available to fill potholes, pave roads, support our schools, maintain facilities like the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater, fund organizations like Visit Tuscaloosa, and much more. Now, before I begin, I do want to briefly mention, just last week, we had the opportunity to present our rough draft of our 5-year strategic plan to our board of directors. It was a lot to digest, but we are wrapping that up, and once that is complete, we do look forward to sharing that with you, spending time talking about that. It is important for our organization to have a vision for the future and to have a path laid out for that. But it is going to take the partnership of everyone here for us to achieve the things that we want to achieve. Now, my intention for today is to share 3 things. Briefly remind you what it is that we do, the impact that we have, and then I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about why we need to consider more resources for destination promotion, what that means for our community, and the impact that it can have. Now, at Visit Tuscaloosa, our passion is what drives our purpose, and it's what motivates us every day to share the spirit of Tuscaloosa. Tourism is the first date to economic development. It helps position our community to compete. We strengthen the economic position and the vitality of our community. We provide opportunity for our residents, and again, generate new revenue for you. Because of time, I won't go into the nuts and bolts of what we do every day, but as a reminder, continue to think of us as your sales and community promotion team for Tuscaloosa. Everything we do should fall under 3 core pillars, and that's sports and tourism sales, so meetings, conferences, conventions, group tours, sporting events, family reunions. Those are the type of things that we are trying to bring to Tuscaloosa. Awareness and promotion, and then advocacy and product development. Again, for timing purposes, we'll wait until we talk to you about our strategic plan to talk more about what product development means and what that looks like for us moving forward. Now, I am very fortunate to continue to be surrounded by a dynamic and thriving team at Visit Tuscaloosa. They are the individuals that make what we do possible every single day. I'm the lucky one that gets to stand up here and talk to you about impact, but really it is your team, these individuals on the screen and sitting over here in this corner, that drive that impact every single day. We are so fortunate to have this great group of individuals doing what we're doing. So speaking of impact, let's go ahead and dig in. So just to give you perspective, I want to talk about the visitor economy first, and then we'll dive into Visit Tuscaloosa's direct impact as an organization. So here's the good news. There's a lot on the screen. Again, I provided you a copy, but I want to hit on the hotel revenue and inventory facts first. As of June, we have added more hotel rooms into our inventory. So we are up to 4,404 rooms across the county. 93% of that falls in city limits of Tuscaloosa, so that's about 4,100 hotel rooms. In fiscal year 2022,
4,100 hotel rooms
in Tuscaloosa.
the city of Tuscaloosa.
That is correct, yep. The city of Tuscaloosa collected almost $11 million last fiscal year in lodging tax revenue. Here's what's exciting to share with you, which I think you guys already have an idea that this is happening. The running 12 months hotel revenue growth is trending 11%. Where we are in the fiscal year, August and September are typically pretty high producing, high revenue months. I feel pretty confident that that 11% is going to sustain throughout the rest of this fiscal year. So what does that mean for you? We project that the city is positioned to generate $1.1 to $1.3 million in new lodging tax revenue. I'll be really interested, Carly, to see how close we are to those projections. So speaking of revenue, I want to highlight.
So Kelsey,
Yes,
that's
sir.
1.1 to 1.3 on the 11 million?
On the 11 based on what the city collected last year, if we
11
trend at that
million.
11%, yes, that's correct. 1.1 to 1.3 million is new income that we're projecting. So lodging revenue for the county last year was up. Again, as we mentioned, most of the hotel rooms are in the city's limits, so most of that revenue is seen here in Tuscaloosa. Just to put it into perspective, if we end 2023 with a 11% growth, that puts us around $112, $115 million in lodging revenue for 2023. Hotel occupancy is something I want to highlight because when I talk about the revenue that we brought in this last fiscal year, that was at 58% occupancy. So I see that number and I say, well, that really means we still have a lot of opportunity, 42%, that we can fill hotel inventory and hotel rooms. The other thing that's interesting to me is that the U.S. national average last year was 62.7. So just to put it into perspective, if we were up 5 points, if we were at that 62.7, that would have meant 65,000 additional hotel rooms for the year and another 615,000 in revenue for the city. I feel very confident that we can get to that point, but it is going to take intentionality. It is going to take additional resources for us to put towards business development, sales, promotion to help us move the needle and get there, but we will. And that will be reflected in our strategic plan as well. We've already talked a little bit about visitor spend. Yes, sir.
So 58% of
Mm-hmm.
the 4,100 rooms we have
Mm-hmm.
are on average, the average fill is 58.
Throughout the year, yes, sir.
National is 62.
National average last year was 62.7%. Before the pandemic, and keeping in mind we've added a lot of rooms to our inventory over the last several years.
Well, that's what I was asking.
At one point,
So
we were at 62.
we should be surprised if we see new. Keep going.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So visitor spend, again, was up 20%. You know, probably inflation plays a little bit of role in that. But what I think we sometimes lose sight of is that we focus so much on lodging tax, but the reality is that the visitor is spending dollars in many different ways when they come to our community. They are eating in our restaurants, they are shopping and supporting our small businesses. You know, when they're here for baseball and softball tournaments, they're probably going to the gas station to get Gatorade, or they're maybe going to Publix to get a sandwich. So they're spending dollars in many different ways, and that's something we need to not lose sight of. So the good news is for Visit Tuscaloosa as well, much like our local economy, Visit Tuscaloosa saw great growth in what we did last year as well. So our economic impact, when in the 94 events that we recruited, supported, or assisted in some capacity, we estimate our economic impact to have been $28.5 million, which is about a 19% growth from the prior year. Our room nights booked went up as well, about 4%. Something else, a couple metrics that we've never really shared before, but it's good for us to measure, is we're attending trade shows. This is where our sales team, Jasmine, Siobhan, and Stan, they're going and they're pitching Tuscaloosa to individuals who are making decisions on where they're going to host their next event. And so we attended 13 trade shows and had 335 one-on-one meetings with individuals who are making those decisions. That is where they're going, they're building those relationships, and they have to be there, they've got to be consistent in attending those. Additionally, we hosted 26 different press visits. That is not something we have done before, and this is something we are very proud of. That means we had travel writers, journalists, influencers from as close as here in Alabama all the way from Europe come to Tuscaloosa in the last year and give us the opportunity to pitch our community to them. And what's great about that is they go home and they write a story and they share about Tuscaloosa when they get home. We don't have the tools that we need to be able to quantify the value in that media recognition that we get. That's something we want to work towards. But there's absolutely value in doing things like that. The last thing I want to mention on here on this slide, and I want to share a few examples, is also the engagement and the activity that we are having on social media. With the limited resources that we do have, social media has been a tool for us that surprisingly has been very organic. We've not put very much money behind what we do on social media, but we are seeing great response from both our visitors and our residents, and I want to share a few examples of what we've seen. So this first one, I took the audio out just again for time, but we do business spotlights pretty regularly around or on our social media. So we did something for Druid City Makerspace not too long ago. This video just on Instagram alone had over 18,000 views. We reached out to Tiffany and we said, can you tell us if you noticed a difference after we sent that social media post out? And you can see her response. There was an immediate boost in their followers. Their website traffic increased 57%, and there were people coming into their business that did not know that they existed before that social media post. I think most everyone here knows Sharon Thomas with Thomas Rib Shack. We have loved working with her. We have brought multiple travel writers to Sharon. We have included them in Restaurant Week. We promote them on social media, and her simple and short quote gives you an idea of the impact that we are having on the businesses that we support. And here's just a few of many more examples of the feedback that we get on social media. And what I love about this screen right here is that not only are we motivating behavior for our potential visitors, we are influencing the residents who live here too. And these examples right here demonstrate that. We have people who constantly reach out to us and say, I have lived here for 10 years. I have lived here for 5 years. I have lived here since 2017, and you are helping me learn to love the community that I live in. I am finding out new things every single day through your content. So again, I say social media has been very powerful. What can the impact be if we committed more resources to promoting our community?
Are you with this strategic plan, are you gonna have an idea what resources need to be, or is that something that you have to invest blank amount of money, right, or whatever? Is that what your expectation is?
No, so the idea is that we will sit down and have a conversation and come up with that plan together. I'll show you here a slide in just a second that kind of benchmarks where we are in comparison to some cities, but that's something we want to plan with you together. We've got to do it together for it to be successful. So we've talked a lot about, again, community promotion and what that means. What is the benefit of it? Why put more resources towards it? Well, we believe these 5 things are really important and a result of that. It improves quality of life for our residents. I didn't point out this number, but tourism creates jobs. Last year, we had almost 10,000 people employed in the tourism industry here in our county. We're supporting the small businesses that we've already identified. We've talked about generating tax revenue. And tourism plays a much bigger role in economic development than I think people realize. So this is just one more example. We launched Restaurant Week this week, and I think it kind of encompasses, it's a very simple example that encompasses all of those together. We had great participation with our restaurants, but we had multiple people share with us that they had record weeks or they had to order more food items because it exceeded their expectations. And what I love again there is that we're driving both visitors and residents to our businesses, generating that revenue. Here's what the reality though is of our strategic planning, and through that process we dug into what are some of our peer colleges doing as it relates to destination promotion. I promise you this was not intentional. We were not trying to point out that Tuscaloosa is at the bottom of the list. It is the reality that we are. We tried to be very specific on the communities that we wanted to investigate and tried to be very intentional, and I can share with you if you have questions about why we picked the cities that we did. We have to change this narrative, and I know that we can do that and figure out how to do that.
Where does that money that Auburn has, if Auburn spent $1 million,
There's
where's that come from? Lodging tax?
Yeah.
Is that probably where the majority of that money comes from these other cities?
Most destination marketing organizations are funded through lodging tax revenue. Some, we just went to Raleigh as an example. It's definitely not an apples to apples, but Raleigh, they get lodging tax revenue. And do you remember, Mayor, what it was like a food and beverage preparation tax or something? So again, there are some different ways that cities are doing it, but lodging tax is typically a common one in our industry. So budget, this is just a breakdown of the 2023 budget as well as the 2024 proposed budget. Quite honestly, we are coming to you with a pretty minimal ask, an increased ask for this next year. And the reason I did that is because I think it's important for us to have the strategic plan in place and for us to sit down together to figure out what does that look like for the next couple of years for us. So the increased request is $64,000 this year. One thing I want to make note of that we didn't realize until after the fact is you advocated for us to have $85,000 in additional funds last year, which we were super appreciative of, but it fell as a special allocation. So our asker for consideration is that wherever we land on the budget this year, can it just be all one line item would be the request this year too. So we're looking from 1.3, a little over 1.3 to 1.4 is our request for 2024. Now, I do need to share this because this is very exciting for us, and this is kudos to Jasmine's really hard work. She has worked hard to build some relationships over the last several years, and we have won 2 major conferences that we will host in 2024, and we did not know this prior to us submitting our agency funding request. So it's important for us to let you know that because of these conferences, think kind of like the Alabama League of Municipalities. These are both conferences where we have to pay to play. We are required to host these conferences. We are required to do some things like sponsor some dinners. We have to do some fan tours of our community for the attendees, etc. So on the screen, you see what our estimated expenses are for those 2 conferences. So we'd like to ask for your consideration for the $64,000 and maybe a special allocation for $52,000 to help us support these 2 conferences. Again, these conferences, these are individuals we want in our community. They are coming here and they have the potential to bring business back to Tuscaloosa once they leave. So we really want to wine and dine them and showcase our community in a positive way. We've had a lot of major wins this year. We're only halfway through the year. We've got a lot on deck for us to wrap up in 2023. I shared this in your copy of your presentation as well, and I would encourage you to take a look at it when you have a moment. But really, just in closing, one, I really wanted to make sure Mr. Busby got to see his video up here on the screen. But in closing, much like the city, Visit Tuscaloosa is experiencing a lot of positive momentum and growth. I think today, even though we've had very little time with you, we've demonstrated to you how we are putting your dollars to work for you and for the city. You know, as the city grows, as lodging tax revenue continues to grow, as sales tax revenue continues to grow as it relates to visitors, we want to encourage you to take into consideration how our funding can reflect that growth as well. There is a story for us to tell. There is capacity for us to bring more visitors here. And there is a reason for us to bring visitors beyond the 7 Saturdays in the fall. And I believe we can do that and we can make it happen together. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have. The team's also here to answer questions that you would like to ask.
Thank you for not airing the audio that went with that. I think some of it would have had been bleeped.
You're welcome.
Can you go back to I think it was the pie chart about 3 or 4 slides. I want to see where the money is going to.
Yep, that's a good
Is
question.
that it?
It is, yes, sir. That's the destination promotion and even our sports tourism and our tourism business development. That's where we have to move the needle. You know, if we need 2 things, we need to do 2 things. We need to invest in some software and some tools to help us measure our ROI so we can better quantify that and communicate that to you. In addition to that, we just need to put more dollars to promoting our community. And I say that from a leisure tourism standpoint, but also from a tourism and sports tourism standpoint.
Cutting your sports tourism
investment
in half?
So the reason that looks like that is because our it's Super 7. Super 7's budget falls in that.
Out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We'll see where we go with that. Yeah. So that does make it look like we've decreased funding quite a bit, but it is largely due to Super 7. Again, keeping in mind, the request for this year isn't much of a jump from the prior year, and there was intentionality with that. So that's why you don't see it moving the needle a lot in this next fiscal year.
Okay, so appreciate what you guys do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. We look forward to presenting the strategic plan to you in the very near future.
Committee members or any other council members have questions?
I do.
Okay.
I think you lowballed it, first of all.
Well, I do too, I agree with you.
And you're not my mama, you can't kick me under the table. My mother kicked me a lot when I was young.
I understand why.
But I think you did lowball it. But also, I know we're not here to vote on money today, but
Absolutely.
I wanted everybody to remember that this is the only agency that we fund that brings in revenue, additional revenue to this city. And the more advantages we can give them, the more money they can bring in. We went about 8 years level funding.
Yes, sir.
And we're able to get about a 200,000 increase or so.
In the last 2
I
years.
know the goal hopefully would get to 2 million. And I would like to get to at least 1.5 this year with those 54,000 you're talking about, along with the 64 something. But again, that's my comments, that I know we're not voting or anything today, and I'm not on the finance committee, but I am a voting member of the 7. So.
Well, we appreciate that consideration,
Still
and
voting on finance.
I
I
think
still
it's
vote on finance.
well, good. Well, I will say too, I think it's important for you to know, I didn't highlight this, I mean, we're asking our other funding partners to increase their funding as well.
Yes.
So we're not just asking you, we are asking them, and I feel very strongly that, that's something they need to take into consideration.
Kelsey, let me ask you a question, Mr. Butler. Yeah. What can we do to, like you talked about family reunion, and I know that a lot of families I know and have family reunions June and July, and some of them may not have taken the time to utilize what you all are doing.
Yep.
Like for instance, I contacted the mayor yesterday from about a lovely lady that loves him to they're having a family reunion, but this weekend, and so I'm like, what can we do to get them to coordinate with you all, even though they have their own schedule of
Absolutely.
activities?
Yep.
What can we do to help, connect them and show them, hey, this can aid you in what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, networking and
Yeah,
really getting out in the
basically.
community. So we have an individual on our staff, Siobhan, she covers the Smurf market, so social, military, education, religious, and fraternal. So family reunions falls under that social.
Yeah.
We have a lot of untouched potential in that market.
Yes.
We actually just today had lunch with a gentleman by the name of Ken, who's the chair of the Divine Nine, a fraternal group. And so really tapping into the fraternal groups, really tapping into family reunions, church networks. It's just going to require us to put our feet on the ground and work that business. But I would say if you know of people who are doing family reunions, have them reach out to us. I mean, we help with hotel RFPs, we provide welcome bags. If they need us to come and help with check-in or registration or something like that, there are things like that that we do for these types of events.
Because we do have a lot of people, I know personally, 4th of July weekend, and they rent and they do a lot, they have families coming in.
Yep.
Everybody, whether it's at their house, but they have 75 to 80 people and almost 100 people, and they're living in our hotels,
Yep.
they're eating in our restaurants, but yet we gotta figure out a way to connect
Yep.
those dots.
The good news is
Yeah.
we've seen that business pick back up. I would say,
Cool.
I mean, just this last year, I'm gonna probably throw off a wrong number, but I think we've had 35 to 40 different types of fraternal and social groups reach out to us
Yeah.
for help. So
Cool, baby.
that number's increased quite
Awesome.
a bit. Yeah.
All right.
So thank you. Any ideas you guys have, we're always open to it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, very good presentation. Gentlemen, any other items of business to be brought before the finance committee?
No, sir, Mr. Chair.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.